Hello everyone, welcome to Trains on Tuesday. Had quite a few requests over the last 3-4 years to take a look at my display cases. So today's the day. We're going to take a look through. We'll see how far we get. I don't know if we'll make it through all of them. There are some things in there that may not be interesting. I may skip along quite quickly. Some things I certainly won't be talking about. And there are some things that I might pull out of there and actually show you a little closer. So in the meantime, I think we may be able to have a couple of trains running as we do it. We'll catch a few glimpses of those, I expect. But first of all, in order to start on the left hand side, I'm going to have to clear some space here. I have to anyway, because I've got to get up into the ceiling to turn the water on, the outside water tap. It's still turned off and drained from the winter. So back in a few seconds with a lot of the layout cleared off here so that I can stand up there. I'm gonna climb up there and get the water turned on, and we'll start looking in the display cases. Here we go. Okay, we're cleared off and ready to go. But first thing we got to do is get these trains running. So that one's in the way a little bit. We'll get that off on its way. It's coming out of the yard tracks here and heading out through the point work here and then the crossover to get onto the right hand running track. There we go. Empty coal cars eastbound to the mines. Our other train is this intermodal, which is just coming out of the intermodal yard there, and he currently is on the eastbound main. So he is partly through the crossover here. He's got to get clear of this crossover pretty quick because there are other trains coming. And we're entrusting this to one SD70 Ace. So here we go. He's coming out through the crossover and out onto the westbound main line. As he clears the crossover, we'll get the points set just in time for our other train coming down. We've got another point here, otherwise we'll be running the coal train into the intermodal yard. Okay, as soon as there's a gap between the trains, I'm going to climb up there and get up in the ceiling there, turn my water on. Well, it appears I dodged a bullet there. I had this old margarine tub sitting up there under the shut-off valve just in case it leaked. I checked it a couple of times in the first couple of weeks and it was dry, no problem. But when I went up there to turn it on just now, the water is within 1/8 of an inch of spilling over onto my display cases. Wow. So that's got to have a new washer in it. Oh well. Let's get on with the job. On top of the display cases I have a bit of space and I store a few models and things up there. So a few models in here, some of them dating back to my youth. And there's my Spitfire mug, one of them. Hope you can see these things here. There's my other Spitfire mug, look at that one. I like that one. I'll get my hand on the camera in the light here. So lots of military models in the first 3 cases actually. And down here some rather odd artifacts. Different size shotgun shells. The 2 brass ones in the back there, they are British cannon shells of the type used in Spitfires and Hurricanes. Many other aircraft as well. There is my Leopold gun. That is a full 1/72nd scale. So it does not fit on the HO scale track. I should finish it. It's been built for 40 years, not painted. Couple of interesting things, I think. That's a prayer book from the Second World War. And there, with a Royal Artillery badge on it, is, believe it or not, a Christmas card. And the picture inside is a Bofors gun. In the second case, more model kits and a couple of mugs, my VE Day mug and my VJ Day mug. If you see any models here that you'd be interested in knowing more about, please ask in the comments. Now there's one on this bottom shelf that I'm going to pull out and have a quicker look at. Sorry, I didn't mean quicker look, I meant better look. This is a 1972 Ford Maverick. And that is modeled after the first North American car I ever owned. It was that color, that green color with a brown interior. More of much the same in the third cabinet. But in this one we do get into some railway stuff a little bit. I had my Puffin Billy mug there. That came from Dan in Australia. Okay, getting right down to the bottom here, we can see the Royal Mail coach in the back there. That was one of my first ever models that I had. Other than that, we're going to take a look at a couple of things in here. Oh, let's just have a look at a collection of train tickets. Most of these from British preserve lines that I've been on. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of other things. Okay, first thing is actually just a piece of rock, but in it is the outline of a plant. And if I flip it over, there's a depression in there with the outline of a bug. And all these little lines that you can see running around on there That's where insects crawled, or worms crawled over this when this was underwater. So that's fossils, and that came from a spot that I know of, but I won't disclose where that is. Don't want too many people down there hacking away at the rock face. So yeah, a couple of fossils. I wonder how many years between that one and that one in layers of fine dust. You can see some of the layers there. Quite a few years. Now the other thing that is of great interest to me is this simple little tin box. Nothing on it. Just a simple little tin box. During World War I, my grandfather on my mother's side was a sergeant, and he was in charge of looking after some prisoners, Turkish prisoners, and the Turkish prisoners made this box for him. See if I can get the lid off here. I'm going to pause while I take the lid off. Okay, there's my mother's handwriting. This tin made by Turkish prisoners for Grandad Jolliffe, First World War. Now inside there I keep a few things, some not terribly interesting, but this is interesting to me. That and that. Those are pieces of shrapnel from German bombs during World War II. My mother worked in a torpedo factory on the south coast of England, and it was bombed frequently. And these are pieces of shrapnel that she managed to pick up. Can you imagine those burning red hot and whistling through the air so far she couldn't see them, striking you? Horrendous. This piece here, if the light catches it right, you can still see the machining on it from when it was made. Anyway, they're treasures to me. Okay, we're on case number 4, display case number 4. We're getting into the railway stuff, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit in terms of how fast we get through these, and show you some of the stuff in more detail. I really don't think we'll get through all of them in one video. So there we have a couple of Matchbox toys, little train, a little wagon, and these here things, 4 different ones, little plastic things. They can be taken apart and put back together as kits. They were cute little things. Sorry, don't think I showed that. Drop the camera. Next to that, a Hornby 00 level crossing, single track level crossing. Coming on down, we've got a whole bunch of rigs here and trailers. These were all shown quite recently in the Container Man 68 Challenge. And currently on the next shelf, oh, we're getting some glare there. I'll take care of that. These shelves are dynamic, they change. I'm using them more as storage than an actual display, most of them. Anyway, these wagons we saw just last week. In last week's Tuesday video. Behind there are a few more cars. Oh. Good old Triang, can't break it. If that had been that one, the one, that would have been a mess. There's the one I just dropped. Containers didn't even come off. And here a couple of Triang interurban stock. No corridors in this. You cannot walk through the train. There are individual doors all the way down to little compartments. And in the back some junk, essentially. And down to the next shelf. More trucks that we saw before. About the only things in that one that we haven't seen. Maybe the panel van here. A couple of little trucks back in there. And my ticket to the oil change at Crewe in 2019. June 2019. Good Lord, that's coming up for 2 years ago. And in the back, my crane. Yeah, I won't dig that out right now. Now, as we get to the bottom shelf in this one, a few interesting little things. Way in the back there, the blue rounded badge there, that's Cato Pass from Laurie Calvert YouTube channel. And the Farland Hale badge from Rob down in Colorado. The Canadian Pacific object there is a trainman's whistle, plastic whistle. That actually belonged to my neighbor's father when he was conductor on the VIA, not the VIA passenger trains, but the actual Canadian Pacific passenger trains before it became VIA. In addition to that, I've got other little mementos. All of those pens are railway related. A few more tickets here. Few bits and pieces. There's a couple of things there that I won't show you or won't tell you about, but I will tell you about these. A couple of really strange looking rock objects, a little bit flat on the bottom. I'm going to tell you what they are. Those are coprolites. Coprolites. Not going to tell you what that means, but I'll look for somebody to mention it in the comments that they've looked up coprolites. I guess we can't get out of here without talking about that loco back there. Now that loco back there just happens to be my one and only big boy. Undecorated. It is a monogram kit, and that means that the wheels don't turn. It's just a plastic kit. The rods and wheels and everything were all one casting, so nothing turns. Okay, on to the next. Okay, how am I going to get at this now? This is a bit awkward, this one, because the ceiling is right above my head here. On this shelf I have my British parcels vans and some Kitmaster kits. This coach here is not a parcel van, but it is a Kitmaster coach. Parcels Express, and my General and my Italian tank. So I'll put those back and into the next shelf. Restaurant cars. Maroon, chocolate and whatever. Can't remember what the Western ones were. What colours they called that? Chocolate and cream, I think. Another parcels van. This one in Network Southeast. And a coach in Network Southeast. A couple empty vehicle boxes up there. That is like playing cards, but it's actually all the signalling for CN is in there. Now my res coaches or vans, coupled. Res being Rail Express Systems, handled the mail. So that's that one. Third shelf in this case, all all sorts of little bits and pieces. The house in the back is a super quick kit, and there is a companion one for it in that corner. My City of Truro Kitmaster box, a Hornby coach, some trying signals, a couple there and a couple at the other end, a couple of tunnel mounts, and some BR vehicles, along with odd bits and pieces of other things in there. And down to the next one. In the back, the red case there, that is a BR safety glass case, and the glasses are in there. And then a couple of Airfix vans, a meat van, ventilated meat van, and what you might call a live meat van. The VIA thing in the back there, that is quite large. It's well over scale for HO. It's more like S scale. It's still wrapped in plastic. It's a piggy bank, and I got that off of a VIA train back in the 1980s. Never taken the plastic off of it. That up there is Canadian Pacific Railway 2816 Pass, and it's got my name on it, and Kamloops to Notch Hill, and then Notch Hill to Sycamoose. That was a gift from my friend Tony, and he took me on that steam train. It was absolutely wonderful. A couple more wagons. That one's got a Saracen armoured car, either a Saracen or a Saladin. Trying Freightliners, container, and a few other odd bits and pieces. Now all of these cars here, the old Bentley, and well, the ones on the front row anyway, the ones in the second row are trying, but these front ones here, vintage vehicles, they were little plastic kits that came in cornflakes boxes back in the 1970s. Okay, down to the bottom shelf on this case, and some North Yorkshire Moors sugar, CN matches, CN soap, various other bits and pieces. My Railway Days 2005 volunteer badge, CN Rail match book. There is a Northern Alberta Railway, I think that one's in Northern Alberta, it could be CPR, no it's CPR, that one, Canadian Pacific switch lock. Tiny little spike back there, that's a narrow gauge railway spike. Couple of spoons and forks marked CN or CP, that was stamped into them. Various other little bits and pieces of railway like memorabilia. Okay, on to case number 6, and I think this will be the last one we do today. There's just too many things in there to pull out individually and look at. But again, this is all British 00 scale freight wagons. If there is an interest in seeing these things in more detail, please let me know in the comments, and try to give me some specifics as to what it is you'd like to see. Way in the back there you can see a grey tarpaulin sitting on a flat wagon. That was my very first piece of model railway equipment. I had that for 6 months between my birthday and Christmas. Back when I was a child. I think my parents were testing to see how much I was really into the hobby before they invested in anything else. And I didn't even have track, I just had that. I played with it for 6 months without track or anything. I tried building track out of wood. So, British wagons. Here's a Barkby and Jolliffe. Jolliffe was my mother's maiden name, so that's why I got that one. But that one's Barkby and Jolliffe from Sheffield. My mum came from a long, long way away from Sheffield. And the bottom shelf, more railway memorabilia. There's a rusty narrow gauge spike and a polished narrow gauge spike. More tickets. That one in the back there is Kent and East Sussex Railway daily journey, 4th June 2010. A senior rover. The orange box there, Lionel maintenance kit, lubricating and maintenance kit. There's a lot of the original Lionel maintenance stuff in there. And here we have my original Triang rocket and one coach. They're not in great shape, but they are original. Little candy box in the back, sweets box. Lots of railway pictures all around it, and corporate logos or badges, whatever. Tiny little train there, look. Put my finger against it. Look how tiny that thing is. That could go on the HO layout as a amusement park train or something. Anyway, that's case number 6, and I think we'll call that a wrap for today. I'm going to close up here. And we'll take another quick look back down these 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of my display cases. Well, end of part 1. One of the reasons I'm wrapping it up right now is my cup's empty. I do apologise for the lack of running trains as I was doing that. I found that they were getting in my way, so I had to put a stop to that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week for part 2 of my display cases and trains on Tuesday. Bye for now, everyone.